Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. For those who are joining us for the first time, you're all welcome to today's video. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a short, so with a waistband. So just look at this beautiful Ankara print from my collection, guys. So first off, I'm going to be folding my fabric in half like so, and that's going to be like twice my lap measure, half of my lap measurement. That's what I marked. Then I marked the length of my shirt, which I'm working with 18 inches, but I added 2 inches for folding. So I'm going to be marking the distance from my waist to my hip, and then from my waist to my crotch. So that's what I'm going ahead to mark. Then I'm going to go ahead to rule it into straight line. So that's my crotch line, which I worked with 12 inches for my crotch, and then my waist to hip, which was 9 inches. Then my waist measurement is what I'm marking, right? So now I'm going to go in with my measurement. So I'm going to mark 1 inch everywhere. I'm going to mark 1 inch on the side seam for sewing allowance. I don't want the pants to be tight, so it's going to be a free short, right? On my crotch measurement, I went ahead to mark my lap measurement divide by 2, which my lap is 30 inches, so I just marked it divide by 2, which was 15. Then on my hip measurement, I just marked a quarter of my hip measurement, and on my waist I marked a quarter of my waist measurement as well, and I drew it into a straight line. Then I made my curve, my crotch curve, right? So now I'm marking 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to connect it into a straight line. That's going to be the allowance that I'll use to turn it over. I'm going to be adding lining, so I'll be turning that over. Now I marked the half of the crotch, and then I went ahead to mark half of that crotch as well on the hem of the pants, right? Then I connected it into a straight line. Now on the hem of the pants, wherever my lap is, where I want my short to stop, that's where I'm going to measure. Then I'll mark a quarter of the measurement, right? So half of a quarter of my measurement on my lap is what I marked on both sides. Then I'm going to connect it to my hip, and then I connected it to the crotch on the inner thigh side, right? Then on the waist, I came down by 1 inch on the waist, right, the inner side of the waist. Then I'm just going to go ahead and cut. Now for this leg side, I'm marking 1 inch outwards because you remember I took that measurement in a little, so I'm just making that 1 inch for ease and also for sewing allowance. So that's what I'm cutting there. Now I stopped before the hem because I want to fold my hem before I cut, so that I don't have a problem with that. Now I lost the video where I recorded the back side of the measurements, the back, how I cut out my back. But the back, I just laid my front on it, and on the crotch line I extended it by 3.5 inches. Then I also, from my center front, right, I just went up by, I have a video actually. I don't want to explain this so I get you confused, so I'll be tagging that video. It's a long pants video, but it's just the exact same way I cut that pants that I'm doing the back as well, right? So I'm going to be tagging the video up on the cards or in the description box as well for you to see. So when you watch that video, it's just the exact same thing I did at the back. What I do to my pants usually is what I did on this short on the back, right? So this is my front panel, right, and then this is my back. The back panel is usually bigger and longer on the waist side, on the center waist, than the back. So now I've gone ahead to cut lining for all my panels, and my lining is like 1 inch shorter than 1.5 inches shorter than the main fabric, because I want the fabric to fold inwards, right? So now what I did is I went ahead to sew my lining. Then I started sewing it from the hem, right side facing right side of the lining. Then I sewed on the wrong side and I turned it over, because just on the hem I now turned it over. Now I'm sewing on the right side because the lining is now on the wrong side, if you understand what I mean. Just like you turn your lining, your skirt hem with lining. So I'm just going ahead to sew down my lining on my part, on my bodies, right, because I'm done turning where I want it to turn. So I'll do the same thing for all my panels, then I'll come back to show you. And you can go ahead and weave or overlock, whatever term you prefer, right? So this is what it looks like. You can see the Ankara went back inside, right? So now I'm marking 8 inches from my waist downwards, 8 inches, and then 2.5 inches from the waist inwards. That's going to be my pocket area. So I just notched a little bit and I'm going to curve it from the point where I notched, and I'll give it a good press. You want your iron to be steaming hot, guys. Then you iron the other side. Now this is on the front side alone, right? So after I pressed it down, I have my pocket bag which measures 15 by 15. So I have this patch of Ankara that I just went ahead to sew on it. That's going to cover the side where it's going to be open on the pocket, right? So I did the same thing on the other side as well. So this is how it's going to be seated when I'm done fixing my pocket, if you understand why I placed that patch there. Now on the wrong side of the patch, I'll join it to the wrong side, and then I'm going to sew that crease line where I went ahead to press, right, where I made notches and I press. So what you're going to sew a little bit away from the crease line, facing the outer part, not the inner part, right? So when I'm done, I'll open my pocket bag like so, and you want to fold in the whatever is left of the point where you ironed, right? So I'm going to fold it like that, and I'll go ahead and sew down all the way to the, you just like bend it over so that you can just overlock and top stitch. That's just to clear any raw seam allowance that you have there, or any raw seam allowance actually that you have there. So that's why I'm doing that. When I'm done, I'll fold it back to the way it was creased, and this is what it looks on the inside. Then I'll top stitch. Now when you're top stitching, make sure you're going to do a very clean job there, because that top stitch is going to be revealed outside of your pants and is a very strategic point. So you make sure that you're stitching very clean. Then I fold it back. Now that 2.5 inches that I measured to fold and iron is going to come back to play, right? So when you fold your pocket bag neatly like this, then you, on the waist side, I'm going to measure that 2.5 inches back on that side to reveal that Ankara that I placed on my pocket bag. So that's where I'm going to just lie the upper side of the pants and just top stitch on it. Then I'll sew all the way to where the pocket bag stops. Now from this point, I'll top stitch where my pocket stops, starts or stops, whatever you prefer. So where my pocket stopped actually, so this is it. You can see it's already forming a pocket. Now I'll raise it up, and then I'll make a notch that is like 1 inch from where that pocket stops from outside, right? So you just make that 1 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead and close it so that it forms a pocket that can hold things together. So you want to do it in a curved manner like this. If you like, you can leave it 4 corner, but the regular pockets are not 4 corner, guys. So just go ahead and curve it out like you'd have your regular pocket. Then I pull the pocket bag back to the wrong side, or the right side on the wrong side of the fabric. I don't even know what I'm saying, guys, I'm sorry. So you go ahead and top stitch so that it double holds that seam, so you don't put your phone or money or something and it rips off and you lose your things. So that's why you need to go over that again. So you can see our pocket is formed and nice. So now I'm just going to go ahead and poke my pocket bag properly so that it sits nicely. Right now that I'm done, I'll do the same thing to the other side. Then I'm going to go ahead and join my pants regular, the way I would join my pants, starting from the waist, then 1 inch towards where I'm supposed to stop. I will stop there, then I'll make notches, right, so that it sits nicely. Now you go and press that, then you do the same thing to the back. On the center back line, you sew as well. I'm not going to be adding a zipper to this, that's why I left some ease allowance, right? Then I'll join the sides of my pants together, or of my shorts. I keep saying pants. It's not a long pant, it's a short actually. So I'll sew the sides, then I'll go ahead and sew the inner thigh when I'm done sewing the sides. Now when you get to where your pocket is, you make sure that you're catching at that point where you notched, right? So make sure that you sew and catch where you notched. Then I'll sew my inner thigh. Now that point that I said, when I was sewing, I stopped 1 inch towards where I'm supposed to finish off at the crouch. By the time you're done sewing your inner thigh, that point is going to be left open. So this is the point where you close it. You can see it's open. So you hold your two crouch lines, both the front and back crouch, and you sew from where it's open. Make sure that you're sewing with your seam allowances open, because when you weave and you iron, you want it to sit and relax nicely. So trim off any excesses that you have and make notches there. These notches are important. I know that most pants don't have it, but it helps to make your pants sit with ease on your body. So this is what we have at this moment. Now I'm going to be fixing the waistband, right? So for the waistband, I'm going to be using this black elastic. So depending on how wide you want your waistband to be, buy your elastic according to how wide it is. And I just cut out this straight piece of fabric that I folded in half, and I gave it a nice press. Now I'm going to open it up like this and join it right side facing each other so that I can close it. But before I start closing it, I'll just cross my elastic to my sewing machine the way you can see. Then I would fold them on each other. Just watch what I'm doing, guys. So I'll leave the sewing allowance on my fabric, and then I'll sew all the way. As I'm sewing, I sewed my elastic as well. Then I make notches just where the elastic is. Then I push all the sewing allowances to face the same side. Then I fold my fabric back so that it covers the elastic, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and sew it on my pants now. So you can now decide where you want that seam allowance on the waistband to be, either at the front, at the side, or at the back. But I usually like keeping it in front, and that's because it just sort of flows better, right, with the front seam line there. So I kind of prefer it like that. So now I'll just be folding my fabric in half with my elastic in the middle. Lest I forget, I changed my foot to my zipper foot, right? So that's my zipper foot I'm using. So I'm just sewing, and then I'm sewing on my waistband as well, just so that I'm typically joining the waistband to the waist of the fabric while I keep my elastic in the middle of the waistband. Just watch and you understand what I did, and that was it. I gave it a nice press, weaved it nicely, and this is it, guys. So I went out with my friend and my husband. So this is the back and this is the entire look, guys. I love it, and it was so comfortable. You can see from the video how I felt about it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. So I'm also going to be uploading the video of the shirt as well, so do well to come back so you can watch or hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on that video, guys. So see you in my next tutorial, which will be the shirt tutorial, guys. Bye.